All right. Well, this is going to be a big test. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Is the connection even stable? Does it work? Hello, Rick. Hello, Visaka. All right, am I lagging at all? Hello, Jay. I am trying to run Dhammapalooza off a phone hotspot. So I don't know if this is working. All right, I see some people are saying it's good. Okay, so as usual, we'll give it a minute or two for people to come in, and we'll go as long as this actually works. Hello, Jayantha, welcome. I'll see you in a couple weeks. Hello, Karuna. All right, let's see how this is going to go. Share screen. Let's get started. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Virupake hime mettang mettang erapate hime. Chabya putte hime mettang mettang kanha gotamake himcha. Apadake hime mettang mettang vipadake hime. Chatupade hime mettang mettang bahupade hime. Mamang apadako hingsi. Mamang hingsi dvapadako. Mamang Chatupado Hingsi, Mamang Hingsi Bahupado, Sabbe Satta, Sabbe Pana, Sabbe Butta Chakevala, Sabbe Badrani Passantu, Ma Kanchi Papangagama, Appamano Buddho, Appamano Dhammo, Appamano Sango, Pamanavantani Siringsapani, Ahi Vichika Sattapadi, Unanabi Sarubhu Musika, Katame Raka, Katame Paritta, Patikamantu Bhutani Sohang Namo Bhagavato Namo Satanang Sammasambuddhanang. All right, English. There is metta from me for the Virupakas. For the Erapatas, there is metta from me. There is metta from me for the Chabhyaputtas. For the Kana Gautamakas, there is metta from me. For me, there is metta for those with no feet. For those with 2 feet, there is metta from me. For me, there is metta for those with 4 feet. For those with many feet, there is metta for me. May those with no feet not hurt me. May those with 2 feet not hurt me. May those with 4 feet not hurt me. May those with many feet not hurt me. May all beings, all those with life, all who have become, all in their entirety, may all see what is good. May suffering not come to anyone. Infinite is the Buddha. Infinite is the Dhamma. Infinite is the Sangha. Finite are creeping things, snakes, scorpions, centipedes, spiders, lizards, and rats. I have made the protection. I have made the safeguard. May the harmful beings depart. I pay homage to the Sublime One. I pay homage to the 7 Buddhas. All right, friends. Well, it is Monday. Well, it's Monday evening in on the East Coast here. It's still kind of Monday. Well, Monday late afternoon. It's 5 p.m. here. And it is time now for Dhammapalooza. For as long as the connection works, and we'll see how it goes. But Dhammapalooza is the festival of Dhamma that we have every Monday with the Maggasekha community, where we do a variety of different Dhamma-related activities. We did some chanting. If we last long enough, maybe we'll end up doing some meditation. And in between that, who knows? It's all up to you. So if you have any questions, you can put those in the chat. If you have any topics you'd like to for me to discuss, you can put that in the chat. If you have any sutta recommendations, you can put those in the chat too. So I'll give it a few minutes. Somebody has already asked a question. So Jayantha says, are you coming to the monastery before your birthday, Bhante? Nope, I will be here in Colorado. My birthday is April 25th, so I will be here in Colorado for my birthday. Last year, I'm staying at a Taiwan in Colorado Springs right now, and last year we found out that the abbot, the Ajahn, and our birthdays are two days apart. I'm the 25th and he's the 23rd. So we went to, well, really, the Thai lady brought the abbot for his birthday, but the abbot said, oh, for our birthdays, we'll go to the buffet. So last year, we went to the Chinese buffet. But I won't be here then. I'll be actually with Bhante Silaratana, a Sri Lankan monk in Denver. So I won't be here during then, though. I'm going to be here until the 21st. But even though I can't really speak with most of the monks except for 1 or 2 here, they're very nice, kind monks, and I enjoy my time spending with them. So it's a good place for me to hang out in Colorado Springs. Hello, Gregory. Welcome. All right. Up to Visakha. Please do tell me if things start cutting out or if you start having issues, so I'm aware. Oh, your son and I share the same birthday, huh? Interesting. Hmm. All right. So Visakha has a Dhamma, not a Dhamma Duta, a Deva Duta. It's called a divine messenger. The mountains are crushing my best friend's son. He went from a happy-go-lucky 28-year-old to fighting for his life in 5 days. Diagnosed with meningitis and encephalitis. I don't know what that first one. Oh, meningitis. Okay, meningitis and encephalitis. And underwent emergency surgery to remove brain abscess. The family has been notified Hayden is not likely to live. Any words I can offer without preaching? Your condolences. What there's nothing, there's no words you can do. I'm not going to tell you to, pick a few Buddhist quotes to give them. I mean, that's not, I mean, if they're open to it, if they ask you, like, oh, hey, you like, into this Buddhism thing, what does Buddhism say about it? Then maybe you say some things. But really the best you can do is offer your condolences. And this said, you say this person, the mother of this person, or the father, whoever is one of your best friends, I believe. Yeah, your best friend, right? So this is the time to be with them, to make sure that you support them as much as possible. You tell them, if you say, if there's anything you need, call me, well, then follow through with that. That's all you can do. You can only give your condolences and try to support them in whatever they're going through. What else can you do? Well, what are you going to say? Well, the divine messengers, old age, sickness, and death. We can die at any time. I mean, if they're a spiritual person, if they're a practicing person, maybe that works. But for the average person, that's not really going to sit right. It's not really going to be appropriate for them in that time, right? A shoulder to cry on, somebody to, an ear to listen to them, and most especially not just for the funeral, after everything is done and everybody's moved on, and then that person is left afterwards still with that gaping hole and that loss, right? That tends to be like the hardest time. I know this from experience. That tends to be the hardest time because everybody's kind of moved on, but you still have a lot of grieving to go through. The process doesn't just end with the funeral. I mean, it can take a year or more. So being, they're your best friend or whatever. So being supportive of them, being with them, supporting and helping them in any way, that's the best that's the best way to support your friend going through this loss. You know, if later on, or again, if later on they start maybe talking to you about the philosophy of life and things like that, maybe there's times to bring stuff up. But right now, not condolences and support. That's the best thing. So video and audio are good, huh? That's great. I mean, it makes sense. I do morning monastery experience on my phone. Um, so as long as I can do that, then I should be able to do this. So that works. Let's see. Gregory says, I was at Wat Metta with Ajahn Jeff or as most people know, Venerable Thanissaro. Hoping your future monastery is similarly supported. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to expect that Maggasekha is ever going to be as crazily supported as Thai forest, famous Thai forest monasteries. I mean, it's possible. It's very possible, but that's probably a bit of a reach, because having the Thai forest behind you is way more than just one organization. So, but I thank you, and I hope also we'll see how it goes. Rick has posted a question here. Karuna says my lighting is better than ever. That's not good. You mean I have more natural light? It kind of looks like I'm a bit darker than usual. But anyway, I can only work with what I got. So let's get to what Rick said here. Bante, can you talk about the mind state that occurs when involved in a car accident? In the 80s, my Land Cruiser slid on black ice and collided into the other car and truck. It was if time slowed down. The mind took an amazing amount of small details. I still have a memory of these details. Does this relate to times when I drive for miles and can't remember just what happened? This is actually quite interesting. So I've been in 3 or 4 accidents, and the one that sticks with me the most is the one I remember the most slowing time. I was in college, and I was with a couple of my friends. I think we were going to get some beer for a party or something. I don't remember. But where I went to college is Jersey Devil country in the woods in New Jersey, and so there's like 4-way. There's cross sections with no lights, and it's a 4-way stop, so you just stop. And so I was in the passenger seat, and it was completely dark, and the driver starts moving, and I see light, and I look, and I see these 2 huge headlights coming in, and just boom, we get sideswiped. But it was like really slow time. It's an interesting dynamic. I don't know too much about what do they call it, the physiognomy and the psychology of that. But this is something that people report, like people in combat and people in really kind of crazy situations. People report this kind of slowing down of time. I don't know. I don't know how much to say about it. It is an interesting phenomena that occurs. My mind took in amazing amounts of small details. I mean, it could be related to the fact, it could be related to the possibility of death, right? Like it could be related to that. This is something that you really have to have all of your focus and attention on. And in doing that, time slows down. Because in general, what I will say is this: when you start developing satipatthana, when you start to developing bringing mindfulness to all of your activities, time doesn't fly as fast. It's when you're going through a lot of the autonomous routines of daily life, work, sleep, work, sleep, work, sleep, work, sleep, work, sleep, and you're not really paying attention to it, then time really goes fast. But the more mindful you are, it actually kind of slows things down. You're focusing more on all of what is actually happening, as opposed to kind of ignoring most of it as white noise and just going through the assembly line autonomous activities of the day. right? The more we do the same thing, the less our mind has to put brain power to it. So we just go straight, I mean, if you're just doing the same thing you do all the time, then time flies. But when you go on a meditation retreat, that starts to seem pretty slow, doesn't it? A week at a meditation retreat seems a lot longer than a regular work week, doesn't it? Part of that is because it's novel, meaning it's not like part of your habitual everyday thing. But part of that is because your mind is focused on your daily activities more than you've ever done. So this is why one of the reasons why I say mindfulness allows you to have time, because it really does slow things down. It allows you to see options and opportunities you wouldn't see if you weren't mindful. So this is almost kind of like hacking into that mind state of things moving slower. So how does this relate to when you just drive miles and miles? Well, what happens when you're driving long distances on in New Jersey? We call it the parkway or a highway or a interstate, whatever you call it, wherever you are. It's mostly lines blurring by. It's mostly cars. It's mostly the same. It's mostly just trees moving by. It's mostly the same stuff for miles and miles and miles and miles and miles. So your mind just kind of decides to do other things. Just like when I'm chanting during morning monastery experience, when I do the regular daily chanting, sometimes if I'm unmindful or I'm distracted or my mind goes somewhere, I can chant whole chants without actually being there. My mind went somewhere else. It was thinking about what I was going to do today, whatever, yada yada yada. But it was so rote, it's so normal that my mind just repeated it and just decided, well, okay, now I have energy to start thinking about other things. So it's the same thing when you're driving. I mean, how many times I've had this experience many times when I was driving, where it's like I came out of a trance and I'm 20 miles down the road and I don't remember the last 20 miles. And how would I have survived that? Well, it's because, other aspects of your mind and body took care of that. And if there was an accident or something major, if it was too fast, you wouldn't have been able to react in time. But if it's something that you have at least a fraction of a second response time, then your mind clicks into gear and you like this, right? But it's just a matter of the functions of the mind. Visaka says, "Thank you. I feel so helpless." That's because you are helpless. What can be done? What can be said? Right? Just like the person who is losing the loved one is basically helpless. When a loved one dies, you're in it for the ride. You have no say in it. You just have to experience it. So you can choose how you want to experience it. This is as a meditator, as a practitioner. The average person is not going to say, "Oh, I can choose how I want to experience this." That's not how it's going to work. It's just going to happen how it happens. But that's how it goes. Gregory says there are new secular jhana trainers, Journey, Journ. I never heard of such a thing. That supposedly teach jhanas 1 to 4 quickly, week or 2 retreat. Assuming it actually is jhanas they teach, what concerns one might have about people practicing jhanas outside the Buddhist context? That's not going to be right jhanas. There's no way that somebody's going to get. If you're a newbie, you might have a beginner's luck and maybe get into um, what people call access quality, access concentration, or what Bhante G calls, I think is much better word, jhana quality concentration, where they might have some qualities of the first jhana, but they're not in jhana because they don't have all of the qualities of them. If you, there's two extremes. The one extreme is jhana is the easy to get into, and the other extreme is you need to be in like some kind of deep forest retreat for 4 months before you get jhana. I don't agree with it either of those. I mean, from my own experience, I nearly got into jhana at my desk at work, right? Before work really happened when I would meditate. So, but again, I had also been practicing for many years by that point, 3, 4, 5 years, maybe even a bit longer. And I had been in a period where my mind was becoming very secluded and not really attracted to a lot of the outside world stuff. So all of those qualities obviously led to that experience for me. Um, but then I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I don't know how I got there. Now I know how I got there. After going to Bhante G's retreat and then, 11, 12, 13 more years of meditation practice and sutta study. Now I understand how I got there, but it was just kind of a lucky thing. It wasn't something that I planned or attempted, because I purposely didn't really want to get involved in jhanas yet, because I felt that it was a more advanced thing that I wasn't going to be involved in. So there is the possibility of a beginner's luck, but that's not going to be something that is going to be consistent. What's more likely is that what people call jhana is not jhana. At the Bhavana, the most wild and wacky retreat that Bhavana had every year was the jhana retreat, because that brought out all the wacky people. All the people are like, oh yes, when in fourth jhana, blah blah blah. You're not in fourth jhana. You're deluded. You're in deluded jhana. That's where you are. There's no way you're in fourth jhana. And even like sometimes the questions Bhante G would answer that way. And he's like, you're not in fourth jhana. This is not how this works. But there's such an easy delusional trap when it comes to jhanas. And anybody who's teaching jhanas as a like a quick and easy thing, that's an instant distrust for me. That's completely instant distrust. Even Bhante Vimalaramsi, who I mean, he's fairly controversial on a couple different fronts, but it was a bit too. He him and the people who followed him talked about getting into jhanas a bit too easier than I would suspect. And so you kind of have to wonder, is this really jhana? Is this samma samadhi or is it micca samadhi? Right? How many times Bhante G would say, you're getting calm, and then you just go into oblivion, and maybe you fall asleep, or you're just oblivious, and you wake up and you say, I was in fourth jhana. No, you were not in fourth jhana. This is so it's very important that a person who is developing jhanas really kind of investigate the states they're in by how the Buddha lays it out, the qualities, what's in the first jhana, vitaka vichara, and piti sukha, right? All these things. And then in the second jhana, vitaka vichara is gone. And so you look at this, and that's kind of like your guidepost. Saying like, am I in the first jhana? Now, is there a chance that I've been in jhana before? I think there's a chance, but going by the suttas and my own experience, I don't believe I've actually ever been in jhana. Like I said, I had that experience of seeing the nimitta at my desk and being at the doorstep of it, but I don't think I've ever been in jhana. And as somebody who's not, those of you who know me know that sitting down and following my breath is always been a weak spot for me. That's not my best practice. So, so actually having that experience of almost getting into jhana was kind of like oh wait, I actually can do it. Like that was like a really kind of positive thing for me, because I was really like, I can barely follow my breath, and I have my breathing issues, and I'm always like, I can't get a full breath and all these things. But then I actually got to the doorstep, and that was a positive thing for me, that, oh, I actually can do it. It's just going to be harder for me than probably others. And that's okay. But yeah, I would be very careful of people who talk about easy jhana, or people who kind of talk about jhana outside a sutta context, because most likely what they're talking about jhana is not actually jhana, or at least is not right jhana. There is such a thing as mitya jhana, right? There's such a thing as mitya samadhi. So you have to be careful about that. Um, yeah, so I guess that's what I'll say. Thank you, Bhante. That makes sense. When mindfulness is strong in daily life, time slows, senses take in more details. Exactly. Yeah. Time slows. Yeah. I'm acting in accordance with what you said, Visakha says. My heart breaks. Yeah, I mean, but this is you're a practitioner, you're Visakha, or at least you can understand. Maybe you don't have the full insight to really know, but you understand, right? That, yeah, people can die at any time. Okay, your best friend's son got to live 3 years longer than my wife. She died at 25. And when I was at Sloan Kettering, I saw lots of bald-headed young kids. Maybe a good chunk of them survived, but how many of them didn't see their seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th birthday? That's the nature of this samsara. That's the nature of this reality. It's only diluted us a little bit more in the modern era, that we've kind of made it so that infant and child mortality is not that high. And that, it's not as common as it used to be that somebody would die when they were young, and these kind of things. But this is the nature, right? This is the nature of samsara. If we are born, we will grow old, we will get sick, and we will die. The time frame on that, some people don't even get to get out of the womb, they die. Some people die at childbirth. Some people die 5 years old. Some people live to 106. There's a lot of factors in there. Rick says, yeah, I really noticed the mind-numbing loss of mindfulness when traveling from Indiana to Colorado, Montana, or Wyoming, especially on the straight flat interstates. Yeah. Well, I mean, where I'm from, New Jersey has a road that basically goes from the very top to the very bottom. It's called the Parkway, and it's just flat trees. Well, I mean, actually, when it gets into North Jersey near New York, then you get like refineries and that kind of stuff. But most of the Parkway is just flat trees, flat ground and trees. So it's just the same thing over and over and over and over and over for a couple hundred miles, or close to a couple hundred miles. driving out here in the Midwest, in the Northwest, hundreds and hundreds of miles. Yeah. Oh, John, people are looking at the side of the jhana people. I don't know. Robert M. Robert, well, this is something I have a lot of familiarity with. This is 100% for sure. Any advice on how to tell the difference between physical hunger and craving for food? I feel like when physical hunger is present, I can't help but feel craving too. There are these two distinct things. Sometimes they overlap, so it's hard to see. This is where mindfulness and satipatthana help. Sometimes, a lot of times, the hunger signals are related to the time of day. It's just the habit, it's just used to it. This is the time to eat. And so, even if you're not particularly hungry, you'll kind of get the desires, the kind of the craving, the push. It's time to eat. For, trying to really pay attention to physical hunger, there's a couple different signs. There's a growling in the stomach, grumbling, a little maybe tiredness. There's a couple different ways you can kind of confirm if you're really hungry, or if you're bored, or if it's just the time that you normally eat, etc. You have to really kind of be able to dial down on all these specific characteristics and factors, and then figure out, and then you kind of make your best guess, is like, yeah, I think this is just habit. you know and there is different, though. Somebody like me, those of you who know me, I have a whole lifetime of all kinds of food issues. I feel an unpleasant feeling. Ooh, I want to taste something good, right? That has nothing to do with hunger, right? There's a lot of reasons why the mind will come up with, let's eat. The craving will arise for eating. And you have to kind of investigate that and follow that and see. And then you have to, after that, you see, like, oh, okay, no, this is just because I'm feeling a little depressed, or I'm feeling a little bored, or I'm feeling, and food is just my hit of pleasant feeling. Now is the time to practice uh, um, patient endurance. Let me endure that feeling, watch it persist, maybe watch it increase, maybe eventually watch it cease. And then after you do that a couple of times, you realize, oh, okay, I don't need to worry about this. Like when I first started eating um, the one meal a day, also at Bhavana, when my stomach was really small and I couldn't eat much, and this vegetarian food, and I was all a wreck in general. But what I was noticing was, at night, if I was able to endure going to bed feeling like I need to have food or hungry, when I wake up in the morning, I'm not hungry anymore. So what I would do is, it's like, okay, well, yeah, okay, I'm a little hungry, or I'm a little craving for this or whatever. I know if I go to bed, it'll go away. I won't need to worry about it. I won't wake up like, oh, I need to get more food, more food, more food. So that's another kind of insight that I learned in the evening. If I just go to bed, I'm okay. No problems. So you really have to kind of focus in your mindfulness, focusing in your foundations of mindfulness on that factor. Do I really need to eat? Am I craving food for some other reason? Am I really hungry or am I not? Then you investigate these things over time and you become more adept at kind of discerning which is which and what is what. Gregory, Bante, a friend asked what a Buddhist take is on medication for depression. Is their concern is that depression meds might interfere with meditation or mindfulness? Medications for depression are really only good for people who have a chemical imbalance that causes the depression. I remember when I went to my first therapist, the guy was an idiot. He wasn't smart. I only lasted with him maybe 5-6 months. He even put me on Lexapro, and that didn't do anything. It was ridiculous. I was like, okay, this is so. But then I found my therapist of 4 years was top notch. He was the best. He was the best therapist I ever knew, and that includes all the therapists I knew from my work, from all the people I met. And early on, within the first couple of months, he's like, "You don't need depression meds. You don't have any chemical depressions. This is not your issue, right?" And I've heard other like clinical psychologists say this, that there is like your life sucks, and a lot of bad things are happening, and you feel depressed, and then there's the everything is going well, but for some reason I'm so depressed. Those are two very different things. And so for somebody who has that chemical depression, the medications are most likely going to help them even in their meditation. But if you don't have that chemical depression, the medications are probably not going to help you. Like I know people who are bipolar, schizophrenic, and who practice. They're on medications and they practice and they do well. It's not necessarily that medications equal harming your meditation. That's not necessarily the case. It depends on your situation. It really does. But there's no like Buddhist take on medication for depression. There really isn't. This is not this is a modern thing. But that's what I would say. It really depends on what you mean by depression. Like I've never had chemical depression. But I had a really rough high school. I wouldn't say I had a rough childhood, but I didn't have the perfect childhood. So there were things, and then obviously, seeing a lot of people I know have lots of cancer and sickness and death, and then getting married to somebody who has cancer and dies, and like there's a lot of things that stem from my whole life that I figured, what, maybe some therapy would help. And in the end, it did. Although my therapist also said he felt like he didn't actually help. He said that he saw that I changed the most when I became a Buddhist. Although he's being very kind. He's a very good person, very good therapist. Became like a friend almost at the end. Helped me see a couple different things that I probably wouldn't have seen through on my own. So he was being humble. But this is something that's a very important distinction, though. If your life, if you're just dealing with a lot of hardship in life, that's not necessarily depression. That you might need some good, meaningful something that brings meaning to your life, which a Buddhist path can do. So I guess that's what I'll say about the medications and all that. Hello, Perennial Daydreams. Welcome. So I see we've come to the ending of our chat. Interestingly enough, the sutta that I chose to read today, if there wasn't any questions, starts out with talking about eating one meal a day. It's kind of long, though. I don't know if I want to get started with it right now. I guess one thing I will say, just to go back to the medications and depression and things like that, is that different medications will have different impacts. When I worked child protective services and I had clients, what I saw was people, and I heard like life stories from people going through 5, 10, 15 different types of medications before they found one that worked for them, that kind of had them stable and also didn't have many negative side effects. So it also kind of depends on the medication. It depends on the medication and how it impacts their body. Hello, Ryan. So, how does one take refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha? Just verbal, or is there a process? So, this is something that varies a great deal. In Theravada countries, you do the refuge and precepts from the time you're like a child. like it's not like a big thing, like it is for a Westerner who's getting into Buddhism. Then for a Westerner who's getting into Buddhism, it becomes a bit more of a kind of like rite of passage, right? Like in tribal societies where the boy turns like 12 or 13, and then they have to go and do some rite of passage to become a man, kind of a thing. And so then, officially going for refuge and precepts can be like the quote unquote becoming a Buddhist ceremony. For me, there was no Theravada near me. So when I was ready to quote unquote become a Buddhist by doing the refuge and precepts, I went to the Mahayana monastery that I knew, that I had been visited once or twice, because it was the only monastery that I kind of really knew of. And on Vesak, which is the big Buddhist holiday, I sat there and it was all in Chinese. It was all in Mandarin, and I took the refuge and precepts as I was kneeling. I was like 370 pounds at the time. It was quite a painful experience, kneeling for about half hour, 35 minutes, whatever it was. And then, quote unquote, I was a Buddhist. That was kind of like my rite of passage to becoming a Buddhist, was officially taking the refuge and precepts by a Buddhist monk. And so if you like that as a rite of passage, that's something good to do. But really, taking on the refuge and precepts is something that you choose to do when you're ready, right? When you take the refuges and you try to follow the precepts, you're basically a Buddhist. Like that's really what makes you a Buddhist. Even if you don't really kind of like go to an official place and have a monk do the chant and then you repeat after them and things like that. That's when you really take on the refuge and the precepts, then you're a Buddhist. Oh, I encourage people to make it like a rite of passage, to make it a ceremony. I think that's a good thing. I have done a couple of times in the past. I've done what's called the 8 lifetime precept ceremonies, virtually, not in person. In person, I was part of it when I was at Bhavana, but not really, not since, because mostly everything I do with most people is online. So you can do that. You can go to a Vesak ceremony, which is coming up in May. Vesak is next month. This is the ceremony that celebrates the birth, death, and awakening of the Buddha. All happened in the full moon day in May. So if there's any places local to you, you could do that. Maybe go to either Mahayana or Theravada, doesn't matter. You're just getting the precepts. And then you can do like I did. Or, it is something I could do online as well if you wanted to make it like a ceremony. I do that. I would do that. Like I do the 8 lifetime precepts, but it would always be preferable if you could do it in person, I think. I think the experience is better overall in general if you can do it in person. I would not deny anybody I would not deny anybody. I mean, there's people in the Maggasekha community who are in Africa, and different places that it's probably not easy for them to do that. I would do that for them. But if there's a place near you, check out the Vesak ceremony. It's coming up next month, May. If there's Buddhist places near you, they will have a Vesak ceremony. And oftentimes there is a refuge in precepts. You could even call them beforehand and say, hey, I'm interested in getting into Buddhism. I'd like to take the refuge in precepts. Do you do that at Vesak? These kind of things. You can, figure it out beforehand. Maybe they say, we don't normally, but since you're new, you want to be a Buddhist, sure, come on, let's do this. It's usually a pretty neat thing to do that. So I don't think that monastics would be against it or would say, nah, you never know. But I don't know that commentary story, Gregory. Do you have a link for it somewhere? What's the wording of the reflection on monastics? Patisankhayo niso pindapatang patisevami nevadavaya namadaya namandanaya navipusanaya yavadeva masakati. That's what we chant. And so basically, let me see if I can find the link for you. Basically, it's a reflection on why we eat this food. Not for fun, not for adornment, not to look beautiful or to be strong or anything like that. Simply for the maintenance and health of this body. For the continuation of the holy life, for the practice. So that's what it is. It's a reflection. Sometimes what you'll see is the monks will have the bowl in front of them, and they'll look at the food when they chant that. It's a reflection that is done like that. So that's really what it means. It's just a. But let me see if I can find the full English translation for you. Did I put that in the Maggasekha chanting book? That is something that I would have thought that I probably should have, but maybe I overlooked it. I haven't updated the Maggasekha chanting book in a couple years, and if I do end up updating it, that is something that I should definitely put in if I haven't already. Hmm. Yeah, it does not look like I put it in there. I'm just going to do a search real quick for it, see if I can find the words, and I'll post it in the chat. All right, I found the Thai forest, the Amaravati way of translating it. This is pretty much it. This is I've heard the Bhikkhunis chant it this way. Also, Abhayagiri, they all use it this way. Wisely reflecting, I use this food not for fun, not for pleasure, not for fattening, not for beautification, only for the maintenance and nourishment of this body, for keeping it healthy, for helping with the spiritual life. Thinking thus, I will allay hunger without overeating, so that I may continue to live blamelessly and at ease. So that's pretty much what the chant is. Are you talking about the parents eating the child? Is that what you're talking about, Karuna? Parents crossing the desert? Hmm. Well, I mean, you could always have another child, especially in the old days when you have like 12, 13 children. You got to survive some. Well, actually, a lot of people don't know this, but in the Soviet Russia days during the famine, like there you can look up pictures of parents selling like body parts of their children, to try to, like, so for eating. Like, stuff gets brutal. Samsara is not nice, and survival gets brutal. So, the average modern person who lives in a kind of cushy Western world, yeah, that some reading that is going to be like, whoa. But yeah, it makes sense. Doesn't surprise me at all. And of course, the point of it is you wouldn't enjoy eating your child to survive. You would just eat for survival. That's how you should look at food, right? Not be overly attached and excited about it. You're just eating it for survival. Now, of course, culturally, that's not, even going back, even to the time of the Buddha, people got together to eat. For thousands and thousands of years, families and people get together to eat. And they're socializing and all kinds of things. There's lots of different things. And in Asia, you have things like tea ceremonies that have specific, like there's lots of cultural layers that have been added on to just putting food in your mouth. But the Buddhist reflection is you should eat like you're a parent eating your child just for survival. You know? Yeah, that is a very interesting and brutal thing for the average person reading the first time. As Gregory says, grim dark. Yeah. Karuna says, "Oh my God, Bhante, that must have been from my comment about you could always have another child." I mean, it is true. Robert M says, Bhante is a doctor who translates something as chasing tastes. For things you should avoid while eating. I think chasing tastes really sums up craving for food well. Yeah, it does. Because, well, think about the things that we think about the pleasurable things. They're usually pretty quick, aren't they? The taste of food, the hit of a drug, an orgasm. They're quick. They end very quickly and they leave you wanting more because you are attached, you're chasing after that high, you're chasing after that pleasant experience. And it doesn't last long. That insight is really kind of what was one of my first breakthroughs in food. Actually, I talk about it in this thing. It's called the croissant simile. I don't know. I haven't talked about the croissant simile in a bunch of years, so most of you probably have never heard that before. Um, but I actually have I have a YouTube video. If you type in Bhante Jayasara croissant simile, you'll have a video of me talking about it at a Bhavana retreat years ago. I think I wrote an article about it as well. So if you like Google Bhante J croissant simile, you should probably see the article in the thing. But basically, it was this interesting experience that I had where I realized like my craving for something did not match the reality of what it was. But this is how it goes. All right. Why don't I'm going to just wait a minute or so just to see if anything pops up. Maybe somebody's typing something. But why don't we do some meditation? Now it's past the hour. We usually do some meditation at this time. All right, let's meditate. Close your eyes. Set yourself up in a comfortable and stable position. Start doing the mindful scan of the body by starting at the feet, working up to the head, focusing in on whatever sensation or feeling is arising in that part of the body. To slowly bring your mind from the external to the internal and set your posture up in a way that will cause less pain over time. I'm not going to do this step by step because most of you have heard me do this many, many times. You know what to do. Paying close attention to special points like the pelvis and the angle of the pelvis, the spine, if it's slouching and bending, etc. When you're done setting up the body in a comfortable and stable position, let the body go and take your 3 deep breaths. Then begin to follow the breath. Remember to lay down your burdens, lay down your world, and follow the breath. Remember, whenever you get distracted away, acknowledge, let go, and return. Don't try to use force to push the distraction out of your mind. That will only make it stronger. Try to weaken, let go of the attachment, the craving, the excitement that keeps you focusing on that distraction as opposed to the breath. Remember, acknowledge, let go, and return when you get distracted away. Always come back to the breath. Breath is there doing its thing, ready for you to follow it towards a more calm and tranquil mind. Slowly begin to open your eyes, becoming aware of the room around you and the people in it, or lack of people, or just where your body is in that room. Contemplating on the state of your mind before and after the meditation, and reflecting on any experiences that stood out during the meditation. Hello, Jose. Welcome. Now we can read some Dhammapada and call it a evening. Craving. The craving of one given to heedless living grows like a creeper. Like the monkey seeking fruits in the forest, he leaps from life to life. Whoever is overcome by this wretched and sticky craving, his sorrows grow like grass after the rains. But whoever overcomes this wretched craving so difficult to overcome, from him sorrows fall away like water from a lotus leaf. This I say to you, good luck to all assembled here. Dig up the root of craving, like one is in search of the fragrant root of the birana grass. Let not Mara crush you again and again, as a flood crushes a reed. Just as a tree, though cut down, sprouts up again if its roots remain uncut and firm, even so, until the craving that lies dormant is rooted up, suffering springs up again and again. The misguided man in whom the 36 currents of craving strongly rush toward pleasurable objects is swept away by the flood of his passionate thoughts. Everywhere these currents flow, and the creeper of craving sprouts and grows. Seeing that the creeper has sprung up, cut off its root with wisdom. Flowing in from all objects, and watered by craving, feeling of pleasure arise in beings. Bent on pleasure and seeking enjoyment, these men fall prey to birth and decay. Beset by craving, people run about like an entrapped hare, held fast by mental fetters. They come to suffering again and again for a long time. Beset by craving, people run around like an entrapped hare. Therefore, one who yearns to be passion-free should destroy his own craving. There is one who, turning away from desire for the household life, takes up the life of the forest. But after being freed from the household, he runs back. Behold that man, though freed, he runs back to that very bondage. That is not a strong fetter, the wise say, which is made of iron, wood, or hemp. But the infatuation and longing for jewels and ornaments, children and wives, that they say is far stronger fetter, which pulls one downward, and, though seeming loose, is hard to remove. This too the wise cut off, giving up sensual pleasures, and without any longing they renounce the world. Those who are lust infatuated fall back into the swirling current of samsara, like a spider on its self-spun web. This too the wise cut off. Without any longing they abandon all suffering and renounce the world. Let go of the past, let go of the future, let go of the present, and cross over the further shore of existence. With mind wholly liberated, ye shall come no more to birth and death. For a person tormented by evil thoughts, who is passion dominated and given to the pursuit of pleasure, his craving steadily grows. He makes the fetter strong indeed. He who delights in subduing evil thoughts, who meditates on the impurities and is ever mindful, it is he who will make an end of craving and render asunder Mara's fetter. He who has reached the goal is fearless, free from craving, passionless, and has plucked out the thorns of existence. From him this is the last body. He who is free from craving and attachment is perfect in uncovering the true meaning of the teaching, and who knows the arrangement of the sacred texts in correct sequence. He indeed is the bearer of his final body. He is truly called, profoundly wise one, the great man. A victor am I over all I have I known, yet unattached am I to all that is conquered and known. Abandoning all, I am freed through the destruction of craving. Having thus directly comprehended all by myself, whom shall I call my teacher? The gift of Dhamma excels all gifts. The taste of Dhamma excels all tastes. The delight in Dhamma excels all delights. The craving freed vanquishes all suffering. Riches ruin only the foolish, not those in quest of the beyond. By craving for riches, the witless man ruins himself as well as others. Weeds are the bane of fields. Lust is the bane of mankind. Therefore, what is offered to those free of lust yields abundant fruit. Weeds are the bane of fields. Hatred is the bane of mankind. Therefore, what is offered to those free of hatred yields abundant fruit. Weeds are the bane of fields. Delusion is the bane of mankind. Therefore, what is offered to those free of delusion yields abundant fruit. Weeds are the bane of fields. Desire is the bane of mankind. Therefore, what is offered to those free of desire yields abundant fruit. All right, friends. Well, I think we can call it a day. So, if you are listening to this for the first time and you're interested in learning more about me, my organization, Maggasekha, and the variety of Dhamma-related activities I do online and in person, you can go to the website listed on the screen below, maggasekha.org, maggasekha.org, and you can find out all the information at that website. So let's do our sharing of merits, and then we'll call it a night. Dukkha patta chane dukkha, baya patta chane baya, sokha patta chane sokha, hontu sabbe pipaniyo, etavata cha mehi sampatang punya sampatang, sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya, akasata chabumata deva naga mahitika punyang tang anumoditva charang rakantu sasanang. May the suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit of ours that we've thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas, nagas, and yakas of mighty power, share in this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddhist dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. All right, friends. Sukhi Hotu, may you be happy and at ease. Practice well and be well. May you have a spiritually successful and peaceful practice until we meet again, which, if I'm alive, should be next Monday for another Dhammapalooza. Maybe perhaps a special Dhammapalooza with a guest monastic, Bhante Silaratana, who I'm going to be staying with for about 10 days or so. We'll see if I can't corral him to be on with me. Maybe, maybe not, but we'll have to see. All right, friends, have a good week.